Brooklyn's historic The Black Lady Theater is now taking bookings. Host your next birthday party, concert, networking event, baby or bridal shower, wedding, art show, gala, corporate event, live stage play, audition, and so much more. At the one and only The Black Lady Theater. Mention code GODCAST for 15% off your rental fee. Code good for the first time customers only. Valid for a limited time. Call 718-771-0900 to book your event today.
Hey, today is Wednesday, July 10th. Making today's, man.
Knowledge cipher, all being born in knowledge.
That's right, knowledge is the foundation. Knowledge just to know the ledge, which is the light, so you don't fall off the edge into darkness. Cipher is a person, place, or thing. Bring that knowledge through the cipher and create more knowledge. Peace to the gods and earths. Welcome back to the Yanadameen Godcast. I'm Lord Jamar.
I'm Digga.
In the house, we have two special guests this week. Our returning special
he's a friend
guest
of the show
host. Well, he's like a guest host. Goddamn it, he's like
I'll be more of it.
Yeah. He's almost infused.
Explain.
Yes, we will explain later. But to his left, to my right, we have hip-hop royalty in the house right now. If you don't know, you better fucking recognize today, okay? Now, you might not know just from looking at her because she looks like timeless right now. You look timeless. You look like you, I'm not going to even ask you your age because I know that's impolite, but God damn it, you look fabulous.
Thank you, sir.
Fabulous.
That's right.
If y'all don't know who this is, with no further ado, this is Sha Rock, y'all.
Sha Rock.
Sha Rock.
Give it up.
Sha Rock.
Yeah, that's your camera. Sha Rock.
Yes.
Funky 4 plus one more. This was the one more that made it special.
But do you want me to start off with that, though? I know you're doing an introduction, but I got to tell them how I got to be the plus one more.
We're gonna get into all of that. I want to start it. I would start it from when you came out your mama, but we press for time.
All right.
So I will start it from. I know you came from North Carolina, right?
Yes, sir.
What part of North Carolina?
I came from Wilmington, North Carolina,
Wilmington, North Carolina.
where Michael Jordan went to school at.
Michael Jordan went to school.
Yes.
What was that? High school?
Yes, he did. Graduated from high school.
Oh, before
I was gone.
Chapel Hill.
Absolutely.
Okay.
High school.
No, University of North Carolina.
Well, he graduated from Wilmington, North Carolina, high school.
Oh wow, look at that. Born in Brooklyn, Jordan.
Yep.
So, Sha Rock, you're born in Wilmington, North Carolina, and how did you end up coming up to New York City in the height of what was the birth, basically, of hip hop? Like, how did you end up here, and where did you, what borough did you land in, and all of that once you got here?
Well, let's go back. We're talking, I was 8 years old when I migrated from Wilmington, North Carolina to New York. what happened was there were a lot of racial tension in North Carolina at that time. My parents were following the Black Panthers, and they were fighting for the street signs and African American rights and all of that stuff. And then one day, someone got shot in the apartments that I was living in North Carolina. Parents say we got to go. Come to find out, about a couple of months later, the Wilmington 10, which was Ben Chavis, Angela Davis, and a whole bunch of other people were arrested in North Carolina and was sent to prison for a long time. And so it was like a whole different vibe that was going on with racial tension. And this is one reason why we moved to New York from North Carolina, because my mom said, I got to get my kids out of North Carolina at that point. So that's how I wind up to North Carolina and moving from North Carolina to New York. So where I landed was in the Bronx. No, I landed in Harlem first. Stayed with my uncle for a period of time, like on 116th Street. Then we moved to the
Wow, 116th used to be popping back then too.
Yeah. So we're talking about 69, 70, like that. From my uncle's house, because it was a crowded area, he lived in a one-bedroom house. We moved to 167 in Webster Avenue.
Wow.
Yes. Stayed back there stayed there for about a year or so. Then I moved to 147th Street, 7th and 8th in Harlem. Stayed there for 2 years and boom, 73, 74, I moved back to the Bronx. Now my mom was a nomadic mover. She used to move all over, anywhere, whatever, where she thought that was the best place for her kids. Back around about 74, 75, I moved back to 165th in Washington Avenue. So that was when I was in middle school, and I began to start getting into the music. And in 76, I became a B girl. So before I became an MC, I became a B girl.
Now, explain to those who don't know exactly what is a B girl, and at the time, what was the music that was pulling you in? Like, it wasn't necessarily hip hop, because it didn't necessarily exist. So what is a B girl? And just tell me how you got pulled in. You can hold the mic.
Well, a B girl is a breakdancer. Back in the days, we used to call it burning. If you listen to like the Ohio players, Skin Tight and all of that, type of music. So for everybody that understand hip hop, don't get it twisted. Some of the songs that, really made hip hop what it was were the disco songs. So, they would play the beat, turn the beat around, different songs like that. You would listen to, just different artists at that time that would have songs, but they would play the songs in the park, like on 169th Street and Washington Avenue, which was called the 9 in the Bronx project area. You'll go out there and just listen to music and, start performing. And what I mean by performing is that, you would break dance, there'd be a crowd of guys, and I was just interested in break dancing. My household, my mother and father were connoisseurs of music. So I was brought up on people like Nikki Giovanni, Aretha Franklin. I was a fan of Elvis Presley. I'm sorry, I was.
Me too.
I was. No, for real. Because the reason, and I used to fight with my brothers and sisters just to watch him on TV, along with James Brown and along with Michael Jackson, because they were entertainers. You understand what I'm saying? And they knew how to mesmerize the crowd and have that control over the crowd, and they were good at their craft. So 1976, I became a B girl. Breakdancing, going around.
That was the bicentennial.
Right. For me it was, because I was a nomadic B girl. So I used to travel, from street to street. Wherever there was music, wherever there was somebody that was playing music in the park, I used to travel from the North Bronx to the South Bronx to the West Bronx to the East Bronx, just to hear that B-boy music and just break dance. Then in 1977, that was the year that a few MCs came on to help create the culture of hip hop. 1977 is that magic year.
Tell us about
It's the magic year. I'm going to tell you why. Because it was only a select few of MCs that was out there. If you was a B girl or B boy, you automatically migrated to an MC. But you had to be that B girl or that B boy that people knew. The people that was on the streets at that time that was holding the Bronx down was the Melly Mel's, the Cowboys, the Kid Creoles, the Sha Rock, the Busy Bee, you know, and some of the Funky Four. These were the people that was holding the Bronx down.
So hang on. So you're saying that all those people you just mentioned, including yourself, were B-boys and B-girls prior to getting on the mic.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
they would go into these parties and dancing and all that, and they were known for that.
Park jams and Kool
Park-
Herc and
right.
Kool Herc's parties were known for that before they migrated.
Before they migrated to getting on the mic.
Exactly.
And so basically that was almost your rite of passage, what you're saying.
Exactly.
So to qualify you to even be able to get on the mic, you had to be something in this other realm in order to get to this realm.
Exactly. And I'll say that, you know, back then you don't look at it like that, but that's how it was
Right.
in the Bronx. And so, you know, in order for you to be that person, you transform over. So now you had your DJ, you had your B-boy, you had your B-girl, and then you was the MC. And so it was only a select few that were a part of being that MC. 77 is the magic year of when the culture of hip-hop culture start coming together. Because you will hear people say, okay, so hip-hop started in 1971 and 1973 and in 1974. Don't believe that, because all the elements of the culture was really not put together and was not celebrated. Because even though you had like disco music, and you're gonna hear people tell you different, but people that were there, if you had disco music, they were playing disco. Even though we were rhyming to disco music, we weren't allowed to come into the disco area to celebrate or become that B-girl and B-boy. And they were not cutting, and they were not slicing up the music, and they were not doing rhyming like the styles that we may do. When you do a rhyme, you know, you had no bars. You would go. See, there was no such things as 16 bars. You would go until your whoever you was rhyming with know when your rhyme ended. You would continuously go. There was no set limit of when you would stop. So the rhyming format of the disco era was different than the hip hop era. That's why it was different. If you had your disco DJs, yeah, we used the music. That's what made hip hop synonymous, because of the music, the good times, the Cheryl Lynn's that we were using from disco. But the elements and the format of how hip hop was formed was in 77 on to
Y'all
78.
making 15-minute rap songs.
Exactly. But you wasn't doing that in disco. You may say something, and not to take from anybody that was doing that. It's just that we're talking hip hop. We're talking all the elements that made hip hop what it is. The DJ, the slicing, the cutting, the mixing. The disco era didn't do that. They just played the songs. They didn't play the break beats. They didn't play the break beats that was synonymous to what made hip hop what it is. Yes, we use the songs like Good Times, you know, the Cheryl Lynn beats, because that was 1979. When even though in 1979, you know, who was it? The Sugar Hill Gang made the first recognized rap record, but it was a song that us in the streets were already using in the parks.
Right.
It's just that
That's what made
Sylvia
it cool.
Robinson,
Sylvia
right?
Robinson.
Sugar Hill saw a way to capitalize off of it, and it's okay. But that's how the Sugar Hill Gang had the best record in the world, because now what you do is that you open it up to everybody around the world, and it wasn't just contained in New York City.
Right.
Because we were rhyming and rapping and emceeing in all boroughs at that time.
What
you know?
about 19? Because I met Grandmaster Melly Mel on a VH1 thing. They
Right.
signed a shirt. I met Herc, but they said 73, Sedgwick and blah 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 is when the hip hop started.
Because the story is that in 1973, Kool Herc gave his first party on Sedgwick Avenue. It was
Okay.
inside of the of the center at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue, and
Okay.
he moved it to Cedar Park.
Okay.
I can't speak on that because I wasn't there. My era comes in 1976, but I do give him respect, because I know that as a young teenager, I followed Kool Herc.
Right. Like the
I
parties
know
that
what he
you would
did.
go to
I
was
know what
one
he
of
did
his
for the
parties.
culture. I know the music that he played to make me want to be that B-girl and to travel around and continue for whoever. If he wasn't playing, I travel just to hear those break beats.
Now, real quick, could you tell me some other DJs that might be lesser known DJs that you would travel to? You understand, as a B girl or an MC to like some of their parties. You know what I mean?
Well, oh yeah, my DJ Breakout and DJ Baron.
Come on, DJ
No, but let me
Yeah,
tell you,
I
let me
know.
tell you the history about this, because when they do the Four Fathers, they only say Theodore, Grand Wizard Theodore, creator of the scratch. They only say Grandmaster Flash, and then they say Bambaataa, and they say Kool Herc.
Yeah.
But what the world don't know is that every one of the peoples of the DJs that I mentioned, let's take Bambaataa, DJ Breakout and DJ Baron had the whole of town in the Bronx. So anywhere from the 200s on up to the beginning of Mount Vernon, my DJs, DJ
And
Breakout,
that's what we know DJ Breakout
had
is
it on
Mount
lockdown. Had it on lockdown from the valley on up. Even though it's DJs in the valley, we had it on lockdown. I lived downtown, right? DJ Breakout and Baron, DJ Breakout lived uptown. Baron lived on the west side, and the rest of the Funky Four lived on the east side. So even though DJ Breakout lived uptown, I went to school uptown. But we had uptown on lockdown and also Flash area on lockdown, which was downtown. So because we had that huge following, Grandmaster Flash's manager, Ray Chandler, asked us to come together and form an alliance to be able to bring our people from uptown to be able to party with Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five downtown. Bambaataa was located in Bronx River. Nobody would go into Bronx River. You couldn't go into Bronx River unless you had a pass. Bambaataa asked DJ Breakout and DJ Baron to form an alliance to bring our people from uptown into Bronx River to the crowds and form an alliance there. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Kool Herc. Kool Herc was on the west side. But we were dominating the Funky Four, and I was an original Funky Four member, and we'll get to that. We're dominating every era or area of New York City, including downtown, Smith's Apartments, Harlem, Staten Island, Long Island, Nyack. We were all over. So when they mentioned I'm saying you listen. If anybody listening right now, they'll tell you we were all in Staten Island, Long Island. We used to take the ferries over there, all of that. Everybody that came out of Long Island and Staten Island would tell you that. And so when they say, you ask me who was the other DJs, Breakout and Baron, my DJs don't get enough credit because we had a lot of people come out of our camp. People like 45 King. 45 King was out my record boy. He used to pass it. Right.
Wow.
Right. But 45 King, right, I'm telling you the history. 45 King was my record boy who used to pass the records to DJ Breakout and DJ Baron for me and the rest of the Funky Four to rhyme. You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
So it's a lot of people that came out of our camp that went on to help people like Queen Latifah and the hits, much respect to her, and Jay-Z with Hard Knock Life. They came out of the Funky Four camp.
So when do you start rhyming? When do you form, the Funky Four? And I know you said there's a story about the plus one, because we know you as the plus one, but you saying you're part of the original Funky Four, so somebody else is the plus one.
No. I'm gonna school you. But
also, I want to know about that, but then I also want to know, which I'm sure Digga would like to know, is what challenges did you face as a girl, coming up in a sport? I mean, I know there was a lot of girls around, but it didn't seem like there was a lot of girls who was actually on the mic. Because you the first female voice I ever heard on the mic. Later I heard like Sequence and stuff but you're the first one I ever heard. So let's get into that.
Okay, let's get into it. So much respect to Rah Digga. That's my girl. I love her. Very prolific MC. But when you talk about how did I start it, in 1977, I became the first female MC of hip hop culture. To your audience, not only am I the first female MC, but I am also a founding member of hip hop culture. I'm also a founding member. Right. I'm a founding member. I'm a founding member of the Funky Four. So let's go back.
Say it with your chest.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So even though you hear about the plus one more, in 1977, the beginning of 78, I helped create the Funky Four. It was KK Rockwell first, and then it was Keith Keith. I was the third member. Now, even though I was the third member, we still had members moving in and out. You know, we had members in the community that, you know, like my daughter's father, you know, he was, you know, he would get on the mic. You know, that would be another girl like Muti, she would get on the mic. But we formed the Funky Four when Raheem came. So even though I was on the mic, we weren't in the Funky Four yet. When Raheem came from the Furious Five,
I was gonna say Raheem from the
Furious Five, we were the original Funky Four. We were the original Funky Four. Now, the story is, and I didn't know this, is that Raheem at some point wanted to go over to the Furious Five, but they weren't yet the Furious Five yet. It was just three of them, you know, and Ness, which is Scorpio, really hadn't got there yet. But they were trying, right, and they were brothers. They were trying to get Raheem to come over because Raheem, he was like a dope MC, but he was also like the first person that would harmonize, you know, on songs. So that was our weapon towards the Furious Four at the time because we used to battle 24/7. In New York, it was always the Furious Four and the Funky Four battling. That's what we did. The Cold Crush wasn't even out yet. Okay, these was the two main groups in New York City that held New York City down and that was always battling. The Furious Five wanted Raheem. We had a battle one time in the Audubon Ballroom. Whatever happened after that, Raheem was told to leave. I found this out years and years ago. No, for real. I found this out years and years ago, and I was very upset with the other two guys because they didn't inform me as to what was going on. And so when it was all said, you know, when Raheem left, because we were really tight, brothers and sisters tight, I left. And when I left, Raheem went over to the Furious Four. They became the Furious Five. The manager, Jazzy D, asked me to come back. They had two new members, but those two new members, Jazzy Jeff and Rodney C, didn't know that he asked me to come back. So when he asked me to come back, they were furious because they were the newly formed Funky Four. But Jazzy D wanted me to come back. I came back, and that's when I became the plus one. And so within 2 months that I came back, we had our first record deal, the first authentic. So when you ask me, yes, I heard about Sequence and I heard about other people. We're talking two different things. You're talking authenticity of hip hop in the Bronx, on the street of New York City, in them park jams, in them schoolyards, in them centers. There's a difference. You're talking 1979 when records were made. I'm talking cassette tapes before 1979. That's the difference.
Straight.
And I bear witness to that because I never heard no Sequence on no damn tapes back in the days.
They're from South Carolina.
Well, there you go. And it just seemed like one day they was on a rap record and, at that time, not to cut you off, but at that time, you know, we would take almost anything. Like I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't happy with the Sugar Hill style of replaying samples. Like as a fan of the tapes, once the records started coming out, I didn't understand why they didn't cut up the records that I'm hearing on the tapes. I don't know about publishing and mechanical royalties and all that at the time. I'm just thinking, how come it don't sound like the tapes?
Because she didn't understand what was going on in the streets. She heard people rapping, and I'm talking about Sylvia Robinson.
Right.
She heard people rapping at the clubs. She heard people rapping at the clubs to Good Times. She wasn't in those streets to see what was going on in the streets. So she never got that part of what was going on in the streets. When she heard, whoever she did at Holland World rapping, Then she had a metaphor. Listen, I could do this. I could put this on the record. So she never got that part. She never got that
There's
part.
a great documentary called I Want My Name Back, documentary about the Sugar Hill Gang and Sylvia Robinson, how she literally took them and shit on them. You gotta see, it's called I Want My Name Back. It's the history of the Sugar Hill Gang. It is fantastic.
But I'm gonna go even deep. I'm
Yeah.
filming a movie, so I'll
Oh,
let y'all know exactly what's going on, huh?
Nice.
We definitely
But
gonna
let
get
y'all know
into
what's
that.
going
I can't let you go. We're gonna actually
We ain't going
we're gonna
nowhere,
bring
Sha
you
Rock.
into the next segment. What I want to say.
And I'm
You
talking
saying
about
that she didn't know about the streets, but on the flip side, I feel like y'all didn't know about the business side at the
Of course,
time.
you're right.
So she's looking at it as, I can't use those records because I'm gonna have to pay
Absolutely.
some sort of royalty to the people that if I was gonna even try to, you know what I mean? So she didn't want to. I'll go get some musicians to come in and replay that shit. So she didn't care about the street side of it. You understand what I'm saying? She just was trying to figure out the best way to make money.
Of course.
And I get it, you know, as a business person. But yeah, we're gonna get back. When we come back, we're gonna talk about the Funky 4+1. You know, came in. Y'all make a record. Boom. That's the joint. Saturday Night Live. We're gonna talk about all of that when we get back. Yanadameen Godcast. Sha Rock in the motherfucking house.
Yeah.